Thank you everyone for joining us today on the webinar, Converting B2B Leads Doesn't Have to Be This Freaking Hard. My name is Greg Gurla and I'm the Marketing Manager for FunnelEnvy. Today I'm joined by Arun Sivashankaran, the CEO of FunnelEnvy, who will talk to us about website personalization for target accounts, driving engagement by combining dispersed data sources, and finally, B2B growth experiments. We also have on the line today Adam Hutchinson, the Senior Marketing Manager at Sestito, who will be discussing social intent data to reach target prospects. The agenda today is the webinar, which will be about 40 minutes, with some time at the end to ask questions. If you do have a question, please write it in the webinar chat box, and we'll get to it at the end of the webinar. Arun, please take it away.
Thanks, Greg, and thanks all of you for joining us today. So I wanted to start just by introducing FunnelEnvy and giving you a little bit of background. We're in the business of delivering more valuable customer experiences, and we do that to our B2B and B2C customers through a combination of conversion optimization or more broadly data-driven experimentation. We do a lot of personalization, and we also have real-time marketing technology integrations that power that. So let's dig into personalization and how it can affect conversions through the funnel. Well, as we all probably know, personalization can have a dramatic impact on your conversions and your conversion rate. Probably doesn't need to be said, but in a very specific example from the demand gen report, leads who were nurtured with targeted personalized content did show a significant increase in opportunities generated down funnel. Specifically looking at the website, in that same report, over 70% of buyers considered the website to be the most influential channel as part of their purchase decision. Coupling that fact with the fact that significant fraction, over 98% of most website visitors are anonymous. We at FunnelEnvy are seeing many of our B2B customers and marketers moving towards website personalization. And some of the more common use cases that we currently see are, what I consider top of the funnel. So highlighting or showcasing an offline event through geographic personalization, or personalizing for certain industries that you market and sell to, or for target accounts if you're doing account-based marketing. And these are great examples. They can be very effective, but they are what I'd consider top of the funnel. And what I mean by that is they're trying to drive engagement and form fills on the website. But the reality is that the B2B marketing funnel, as we all know, and marketing and sales funnel is complex. There are lots of steps. It involves marketing teams and sales teams and even product teams, and the value is actually throughout that in funnel, not just at the top, all the way from that form fill through to conversion and potentially even beyond, depending on your business. So at the end of the day, with personalization, we can do better. So let's set a goal for ourselves, and I'm going to call that full funnel personalization. And what I mean by that is differentiated and personalized experiences engagement throughout the customer journey. And differentiated means significantly different and more relevant journeys and experiences for each segment that you have in your business. And that those experiences and that engagement that you put in front of your customers is relevant to their segment and their stage of engagement, and you're actually taking advantage of all available channels. So this concept of full funnel personalization is not just limited to one channel. So let's walk through some examples of this. First, I'm going to start with account-based marketing. Those of you who are doing account-based marketing, as many B2B marketers are, and what we call account-based personalization. So a real simple example of this is something that our friends at Segment are doing. They use Intercom to engage through chat their customers. And as you can see here, they use a third-party data provider called Clearbit to identify the company that the visitor is in and drop in the company name into that first experience, into that first chat experience. It makes for a much more personalized first experience. Second example, a little bit more sophisticated by our partners at Optimizely. They use another technology to also identify account and firmographic information from the anonymous website visitors. And in this case, they are actually connecting that to the Optimizely platform to deliver different top-of-the-fold content on their homepage. That includes the creative at the top, above the fold, as well as the copy. In this case, they're targeting Microsoft, which is one of their important accounts. And another thing that we've seen be pretty effective here at FunnelEnvy is personalizing the calls to action. Calls to actions are obviously really important to drive conversions at the top of the funnel. So personalizing those calls to action, in this case, if you do have, as many of you do, information about the lead's job title and company, inserting that into your calls to action can make for a much more personalized experience and increase conversions. So go a little bit deeper. Let's take the example of pricing pages. So if you're a SaaS business, you should be spending a lot of time on your pricing page, and you probably already do. Certainly, we here at FunnelEnvy spend a lot of time improving pricing pages. The reasons for that is it's really high value traffic. It's visitors who are familiar with you and are gathering the information to make a purchase decision. So really improving and focusing on their user experience is important in terms of conversions. There is a problem with this example, however. Right here, we're looking at actually two different audiences being targeted and two completely different buyer journeys on being crammed into a single pricing page, a single web experience. The basic and premium options are targeted towards small and medium-sized businesses and organizations, and the sign-up flow is self-registration. It occurs completely through the website. But as you can see, they're also trying to target enterprise customers through a request a demo and speak to someone on the inside sales team, and that is a completely different experience and audience. So that should set off some red flags, some alarms if you're in the business of driving conversions, because as we know, competing calls to action, audiences, and buyer journeys on a single page does have a really negative impact on your conversion rates. So certainly just some basic optimization would help here. But in terms of personalization, if you are able to identify the nature of that account or traffic coming to the site, if you're able to, for example, target SMBs based on previous browsing behavior and show them and highlight the self sign-up flow, or on the flip side of that, through maybe firmographic third-party integrations, identify if a visitor is coming from an Apple or a Microsoft, and really highlight the enterprise plan and the benefits for that customer, you should see much higher conversion rates. And of course, this doesn't have to be limited to the website. Retargeting and other channels is a really effective tactic for driving conversions. Some really common use cases are if you're sending out activation emails and users aren't clicking on those, retargeting them and getting them to re-engage and come back. Retargeting based on behavior is obviously very common. One great example of personalized retargeting is identifying a certain content stream or topic that you're publishing content on and looking for visitors that engage repeatedly with that content and giving them a much more personalized retargeting that's relevant to the content that they're already consuming. You can also bring additional data to bear, your marketing automation platform or CRM, to drive personalized retargeting. Common use cases there are personalizing those retargeting ads by industry or job title, but also using the relative importance of that lead, whether that's through a lead score or whether that lead is in a target account list, to adjust your bidding and making sure you're maximizing your return on ad spend and ultimately driving more conversions. And of course, retargeting doesn't have to live in isolation. Ideally, you want to present a holistic customer experience, align your retargeting efforts with your website personalization campaigns so that when a user sees a certain experience on the website and then they leave, when they're browsing Facebook, the web, or the broader web, they're seeing a consistent experience across all channels. So content is obviously critical and probably the biggest lever when we're talking about B2B marketing and driving visitors through that funnel. And so when you're thinking about personalizing content, it's really increasing engagement using differentiated relevant content. So certainly there are opportunities with behavioral and firmographic segmentation. So in the example on the bottom left, in this company, it has identified the roles within the organization that they're marketing to, and they put a self-selection on the first visit to the site. You can choose between one of several roles within the organization. When you choose one and then come back to the site and also receive emails from the company, all of the content that they're sending you is tailored to that role, and through some testing they've shown that really drove engagement and conversions. Another example is based on stage of the journey and stage of the funnel. In the example on the right from HubSpot, The company is showing a default piece of content, an ebook, kind of generic top of the funnel content. But once the visitor has already downloaded that and read that and has moved along that journey, they're seeing a completely different piece of content, a webinar that might be more targeted to where they are in that purchase decision. And you can get increasingly sophisticated about that. There are quite a few more platforms out there, like our friends at IDEO, who have a great AI recommendation platform, content recommendation platform built on natural language processing, and that really starts to enable a lot of the one-to-one marketing, tying the content recommendations to the visitor content interests and what they've been consuming. So the personalization doesn't have to be exclusively limited to digital experiences. In fact, interjecting humans into that digital experience can be really effective. And one way that's often done is chat. Now, chat's expensive. You have to have someone manning that chat and being available for it. So certainly you can personalize that chat experience and constrain it to your highest value leads. And these can be high intent to purchase. Based on behaviors that they're taking, on the site or in other places. Certainly target accounts. It makes a lot of sense to spend more and be in front of those most important accounts to your business. This could also be existing customers. So customers that are at high risk of churn, if you can bring your CRM and data to bear and identify customers that are at a high risk of churn, or in a renewal period. These are great opportunities to inject a human, offer them help, and alleviate concerns that you might not be doing through your content or digital means. And the other thing that we've seen be pretty effective is actually letting users affirm their desire to actually speak to a human. In the example on the bottom there from Salesforce, this is actually from their pricing page. So again, high value, high interest traffic. If you stare at that for some time and don't engage with the pricing page, that modal pops up and actually asks you if you want to speak to a human to get some help. And this can really kind of help, especially on a pricing page, move potential customers across the line to get them to convert. So extending that customer experience through to the sales team is also really effective, and that can be much more personalized as well. So if you're like me, you spend a lot of time involved in sales demos. Here at FunnelEnvy, we actually use Calendly. If you're not using it, it's a fantastic tool to schedule demos and other calls and meetings with customers. We found that by using the Calendly links, we've seen a significant drop-off in reduction in meeting drop-off, as well as just the time it takes to schedule with all of the typical kind of back and forth. So the folks at Consensus actually published this integration that they have. Consensus is a company that actually creates personalized sales demos through videos, and through an integration with Zapier. And Zapier is the tool that is a fantastic tool that we use here to integrate a lot of the solutions in your overall stack, including several marketing technologies. You can actually send that personalized sales demo in the Calendly confirmation link. So to do that, you have to connect Consensus to Calendly via Zapier. And then after the prospect books a meeting on your calendar, they get back a meeting confirmation with a personalized video sales demo. And the effect of this is to warm up that prospect, before the sales rep takes the call. Avoid some of that boilerplate back and forth initial overview type of stuff that's frequently done in sales demos, and get to a much more meaningful conversation. So that's an example of the customer experience and personalization, extending from that digital realm all the way through to the sales team. And one more example I wanted to walk through here is onboarding. So if you are a SaaS company, you should already know that your onboarding process, the series of interactions that you're doing with the user when they sign up for the free trial or they first register, is really important and highly correlated to your most important KPIs, engagement, retention, and LTV. So getting that right and moving them through those onboarding steps and looking at the numbers that complete and tying that to those KPIs is really important. So there's typically a series of steps here that a customer will go through. So what can you do to drive more people through onboarding? Well, certainly taking advantage of some of the personalization that you're doing at the marketing layer, and having that affect the onboarding experience and personalizing that onboarding experience. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Quite frequently, marketers are doing really sophisticated things in terms of segmentation and learning about their prospective customers, but then when it translates to onboarding and they're kicked over to the product, everyone sees the same onboarding experience. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in using some of that segmentation and data to create a more personalized and engaging onboarding experience. Inevitably, though, you're going to have folks that drop off at some step in the onboarding. So what do you do about that? Well, the easiest one is making sure that you show them the relevant step of the onboarding process that they skipped when they do come back to the site or the app, and trying as best you can to get them to complete that step and any steps that have been missed. But this doesn't have to be just an on-site thing. One of our customers had a lot of success with tying that skipped step to a series of campaigns, both on-site as well as retargeting, emails, socials. So wherever they are, kind of reminding them to and urging them to coming back and sort of complete that onboarding process, and ultimately become a more engaged and happy customer. So a lot of this personalization that we've been talking about has a big data dependency, and bringing that data together in an actionable way is really going to power your ability to personalize the entire funnel. So that data, the nature of the data that we've been talking about can be first-party data. That's either behavioral data, data that you have in your marketing automation or your CRM platform, or you can use third-party data providers, and some of them are up here, that'll give you account level or other persona-based data about the traffic and the visitors coming to your site. And the important thing to remember as well with respect to the data is, it needs to be, if you're using it for real-time personalization as opposed to email, it needs to be timely and actionable in a timely way, but it also needs to be enable consistent audience measurement and targeting. So you can have channels that span, or campaigns that span channels across the funnel. So ultimately, this is what we're after. Moving from a model where you have, very little information about the visitor or so who's coming to the site, and thereby, very generic, outbound emails, homepage experience, to a much more personalized customer journey and a series of interactions using the data that you can identify upfront, but also the behaviors that the customer engages with over time. So, in this example, in the bottom, it's Elon Musk. We know a lot about, firmographic information, and we know, demographic as well as behavior, and we're able to deliver a much more personalized outbound emails, a much more personalized website interaction. The content that he receives in this example, by leveraging that data, is much more tailored to what he's interested in and is more likely to cause engagement. And that carries through, as we've talked about, to the sales process and after the digital marketing funnel. That data is being used to create a much more tailored, personalized, and relevant sales experience, ultimately leading to a happier customer and happy Elon Musk. So, quick takeaways here. Talked through a lot. I think the most important things are to get to a more personalized customer journey, making sure that data is actionable and making sure that it's integrated, actionable, and timely. Looking at opportunities not only in a particular stage of your funnel, but throughout that funnel, and identifying the key segments and stages as they engage all the way through. Tying in other channels and looking at the holistic customer experience and how you can deliver the same message irrespective of where they are and how they're engaging with you. And finally, experimenting. At FunnelEnvy, we do a lot of experimentation, testing a lot of this and seeing what numbers come back. That's your ability to be successful at this is very much correlated to the experiments that you run and how effective they are.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Arun. We've got some questions here, but we'll save them for the end. For right now, let's kick it over to Adam, who's going to talk to us about Sestito. Take it away.
All right, well, thanks, Greg, and thanks, Arun, for having me on this webinar. This is a topic that's really kind of near and dear to my heart. So I'm the head of marketing here at Sestito. I've been with the company for a couple of years now. I still wake up every morning thinking, how the hell are we going to get more leads over to the sales team? We have this great database, we filled them out with leads. Now I need to push more of them over the line, down the funnel, and of course all the way down to close as well. And I think Arun really hit the nail on the head, saying that data underpins personalization, and that's really where we start to see these conversion rates lift like crazy. So that's what I want to talk about for a minute here. And specifically, I want to talk about data from third parties, and specifically from social media. How are we listening to our buyers' behaviors and what they care about online in order to inform our marketing campaigns? So that's what we do at Sestito. We actually are a data platform that allows businesses to track relevant social actions on Twitter and other social platforms based on what people are talking about, the hashtags they're using, the keywords they're using, the influencers they're following, the events that they're going to. We scrape all of that data from social at a lead by lead level. And from there, we allow marketers to build lists of new leads that are going to convert faster because they've been socially engaged, or accelerate their existing leads through the funnel by hyper-targeted relevant campaigns and messaging. And I like to say no more irrelevant messaging to our leads, because we actually have now that 360 view of the buyer. So first I want to jump into an example of one brand, GoAnimate, who's actually seen a lot of success using social data in their marketing. So you see here on the right, these are actually keywords, keyword level research they've been doing on social media to identify their prospects. Now GoAnimate is a video marketing platform. What they actually do is they allow marketers to create kind of drag and drop simple videos, animated videos that they use for explanatory videos, homepage videos. If you ever see kind of those little brief overview videos of how a business works or something, a lot of those are powered by GoAnimate. Really easy to use tool. Any kind of marketer right out of the box can set up their videos in just a few minutes. And they have a free trial as well where they generate most of their leads. So they're searching for people online based off of content marketing, keywords, video marketing, interactive marketing. And you'll see here on the right, they're looking for people who are talking about content marketing world, people who are talking about, content hackers and, other influencers like Heidi Cohen and Jeff Boulos, and even just topics in general like Content Hub and content curation. All of these different kind of topics are telling them who's interested in their space right now. Now, once they find these people, they want to generate new leads, but they also want to make sure they have relevant interactions with them. So what they do is they follow them on Twitter. They send them a direct message that's hyper-targeted based on what they're talking about. So if they're talking about video marketing, they'll send them a message that says, hey, saw you were interested in video marketing. I think you might like this 14-day free trial of our video marketing platform. That's a simple drag and drop tool. Or if they're interested in interactive content, they'll tailor the message around that. If they're interested in an event like Content Marketing World, they'll actually ask them to come by their booth and come meet them and have a live demo right there. Now, what's really great is not just that they're having a really warm interaction on social media, but the people they're identifying based off of intent data are hyper-targeted. So 81% of the prospects that they found via social media behaviors were MQLs, good fits for their business. You compare that with the typical list buying campaign, paid search, other traditional inbound channels, where only about half the leads you're actually generating are good fits for your business. They were able to get much more targeted based on finding that third-party intent data. So they built lists of leads on these specific content tracks that people were talking about and sent them email campaigns to move them down the funnel into the MQL state and pass them off to the sales team. And what they found is when they were reaching out to people based on what they were talking about, they had 5 times higher click-through rates on their email. Now, I don't have to tell you that email can be a bit of a struggling channel right now. I know internally here at Sasebo, our average email rates are 1, maybe 2% on my really great nurture programs. So 5 times higher, even if we can get up to a 5% click-through rate on our emails, that's a huge lift in the amount of engaged leads we have. And for GoAnimate, anyone who's clicking on that email and showing interest is a qualified lead that they can pass over to sales and have a follow-up one-to-one conversation, because these were all qualified MQLs for them. So really, when they were reaching out with this intent data with hyper-personalization, they actually saw an increased conversion rate and, of course, a better customer experience too. So now I want to share just one other example that we've actually used internally here at Sestito, actually across channels. So this is Ronald Ramlin. He's a demand generation manager at a tech company that was a really good fit for our business. Now, we found him on Twitter based off of this tweet he posted. You see right here, He was chatting about conversion rate optimization tips, sharing this article from another source, hashtag growth marketing, hashtag demand generation. Now for us, we're a end-to-end data platform for demand gen marketers. So anyone who's tweeting about demand generation or lead generation is a really great fit for us. So once that happened, we actually had one of our employees, Dan West here, engage with him on Twitter. He followed Ronald, and when Ronald followed back, sent them that direct message. Hey Ronald, based on your recent tweets, I'd love to get your opinion on Sestito, a platform for lead generation using social data. Now Ronald clicked on that link, he visited our website, and since he was engaged, we wanted to follow up with him. So we sent him another very targeted, personalized email on another channel. You see here, Dan sent him this email. This was all automated. Saw your lead generation tweet. Saw you were tweeting, wanted to connect with you. Gives a little bit more information about our platform, real-time behaviors, social activities, and then an invitation to start a free trial with us. Now, Ronald actually clicked on this link, started a free trial. This was hyper-targeted for him. So within 30 days, he actually was in an opportunity, in a deal, and we were able to close that deal. Ronald's now a great customer of ours. And so this is really where it comes down to, is that you're going to find that data from multiple sources online. You need that first-party data. You need to know who's interacting with you. You need that third-party data, both behavioral and demographic. And when you put that all together into a centralized location, you're able to create these experiences that really increase your conversions, not just on one channel, but across all of your channels. So that's why I'm very excited about kind of where the marketing industry is headed with all of this third-party intent data as well. But that's kind of the gist of it. And of course, if you're interested in learning more, we have a lot of resources on our Sestito website too about some other campaigns we've ran as well.
Okay, thanks a lot, Adam. We're going to go through some questions right now. So let's start off with a question for Rune. If there's one personalization tactic to get started with, what do you recommend?
Well, with personalization, certainly like do it where it's easiest, right? And leverage the content that you have. Personalization is going to require you to generate that personalized content. So taking advantage of personalized content or content that you already have that you can repurpose for your personalization campaigns is where we typically like to start. So if that is on the website, a lot of times a lot of B2B companies have industry-specific pages. So solutions for healthcare, solutions for the energy industry, etc. So if you're going to do website personalization, just repurposing that and exposing that on your homepage, if you can identify the industry. To take an example that's not on the website, emails, right? Email is asynchronous. It's not as real time. It's easier if you're not doing email personalization to start there and then work your way towards some of the more real time things, which often are a little bit more technically challenging.
Awesome. You talked a little bit about verticals. Are there any verticals that are kind of better suited for personalization? I know B2B, but do you see like some trends in the market as to where there's really a sweet spot?
Well, I think we see customers across the board doing more and more personalization. I think the nature of the personalization that they do differs a lot by vertical, which really reflects the characteristics of the market. So in B2C or B2B, selling to smaller businesses where there's a lot of volume, there's a lot of traffic, it's typically driven more by behaviors. So content that customers are looking at, maybe even if it's an e-commerce site, things that the customers are putting in their cart. And that could be a B2B or B2C e-commerce site. Behavior tends to drive a lot of the personalization. In a account-based marketing world or business selling to enterprise, we do see a lot more third-party data being used because you are doing more targeting at the account level, and it's easier to get better data at an account level as opposed to an individual level. So in those cases, we see again, more third-party and account-level personalization being used. So personalization, I think, is being applied across the board increasingly. It's just the ways that it's being done effectively are going to differ, and this is probably stating the obvious based on those market characteristics and who you're selling to.
Right, right. Very, very true. So we've got another question. Actually, great question. What's a reasonable budget to have personalization implemented for a local business?
As a starting point, assuming that you haven't done personalization before, the lowest amount that's going to deliver some meaningful ROI and allow you to evaluate, if you can step that up. So, thinking about, who is engaging with you now, primarily digitally, and where you can improve that engagement through a personalized experience, right? And what's the smallest thing that you can do to test that out? And if you can generate some positive return and through an experiment on that, that justifies additional investment. It's harder to be a little bit more specific about it without knowing the specifics of any one business, but that's always our recommendation: is start small, prove out the concept, expand from there.
Awesome, awesome, very true. I have a question for you, Adam. Actually, same one that I went with Arun of. What type of verticals are best for Sestito? Where do you see trends in the market and where your clients are kind of clustered in?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've seen a lot of success, obviously specifically with B2B. The nice thing about the B2B space is that, one, almost everyone talks about where they work, who they are in their Twitter profiles or their LinkedIn profiles. And people are very excited about their jobs. People like to share content from their companies, like to talk about what they're working on and other things in the industry, or they even follow influencers in the space. So it's actually very easy to get hyper-targeted on the B2B space versus the B2C, where things tend to be pretty broad on social media. Now within that, it pretty much spans a wide range. It really comes down to how targeted is your industry and how easy is it to find people and what they're talking about online. Tech people, marketers tend to be very, very active on social media. Someone who's maybe an operations director at a manufacturing company, maybe not quite as much, but it really just depends on where is your audience. Go find them first where they're living, and then listen to those relevant actions.
Oh, interesting. Follow-up question for you, Adam. Again, you mentioned pulling the relevant accounts and hashtags. How do you determine which ones to use and which are going to be the best for targeting your audience?
Yeah, great question. I mean, first of all, don't overthink it. When we talk to new customers who are starting with this process, or even just people who are thinking about it, most companies have a keyword strategy either explicitly or implicitly already in their business. If you're doing any sort of SEO or content optimization, you already know those keywords, probably internally in your heart, but also maybe written down somewhere. That's a great place to start, right? If you're wanting to talk to people relevantly, talk about what you already have and what they're going to be talking about as well. And then from there, really, it comes down to, what are you going to give to these people, right? What are those content tracks on the other side of the equation? What is that talk track when they get handed over to a salesperson? Start there with the content you have. What are those keywords in the headlines? What can you extract from those conversations? What are the most kind of frequent terms that you're using? Maybe other brands that you're referencing, industry events that you're referencing. Pull all of those things out and really start kind of with the end goal in mind. We like to think of it in 4 main categories too, right? Typically, events are the highest performing ways to target people and get personalized. People get very excited around events. Then, of course, industry influencers, competitors in your space, and then any kind of partners or topics that you kind of work with in the broader ecosystem as well.
Right. Very cool. We've got a question again. So this is for Arun. For retargeting, are you referring to the pixel for Facebook or something else?
Yeah, I mean, retargeting, good question. I'm using the broad term, which is, could be Facebook, it could be Google AdWords. It could be an intermediary like AdRoll. But basically, showing ads to people as they browse the web or they browse one of those social channels that have already engaged with you. And bringing them back. So yes, that typically involves dropping a pixel or a bit of JavaScript onto your site, or injecting that, through a tag management solution.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, we've got one last question here. So this is for Arun. How do you determine who should be able to speak to the sales teams, and how do you determine who those high-value leads are?
Well, it kind of depends on how you segment up your accounts. If you are doing account-based marketing and have gotten to the point where you have sort of segmented your target accounts across the universe of everyone you could be marketing to, then you've probably already identified, these are our tier 1 accounts, our most important ones. Tier 2, which is sort of a bit broader, and maybe additional tiers below that are even broader. So at that level, what we typically see is, sales reps being and AEs being assigned to certainly the high level of accounts, and then as you go down, it being a bit more broad than that. If you're not there yet in terms of account-based marketing, you frequently, another common sort of pattern is based on vertical, right? If you're selling to different verticals, having sales reps that are more interested in it, that are more aligned to specific verticals. I think in terms of identifying who important leads are, every business is going to have different characteristics. You probably have your marketing team probably already has certain KPIs publicly available, as well as additional engagement indicators to tell you how likely that lead is to convert and how valuable that might be in terms of a fit for your solution. So it's really a combination of those things to identify who's valuable.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everyone that has pitched in to ask some questions, and of course Arun and Adam for answering those questions. Special thanks to Sestito, of course, as well as Outreach, Zapier, and Calendly. These are all these last three are platforms that we use on a daily basis here at FunnelEnvy, so I definitely encourage you guys to go ahead and check those out. And as a final note, if you guys have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to Arun or me here at FunnelEnvy. We're happy to answer any of your questions if there's something that you want clarified, or you just want some advice for getting started with personalization or any of the topics discussed in this webinar. We hope you guys have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you soon. Thank you all.